Hello guys, I'm Aljan H. Ferrer from BE's ECE3C. This is ECE23 Performance Task 11. So first, we're gonna define what is filter bank or FBMC. So what is FBMC? Filter bank multicarrier. Filter bank multicarrier is a form of a multicarrier modulation which the carriers are filtered to provide more specifically efficient form of waveform. So what is the history of filter bank multicarrier? So first, MCM was first used in analog military communications in 1950s. Recently, MCM has attracted attention as a means of enhancing the bandwidth of digital communications over media with physical limitations. The scheme is used in some audio broadcast services. The technology lends itself to digital televisions and is used as a method of obtaining high data speeds in asymmetric digital subscriber line or ADSL systems. MCM is also used in wireless local networks or WLANs. So, what are the types of FBMC? So, types of FBMC. The first proposal of filter bank multicarrier technique came from Chang. He represented the conditions required for signaling a parallel set of pulse amplitude modulation or PAM symbol sequence to a bank of overlapping filters. Then, to maximize the bandwidth efficiency of the system, physical sideband modulation was applied to each subcarrier signal. Salzburg extended the idea and showed how Chang's method could be modified for transmission of quadrature amplitude modulated or QAM symbols. Staggered modulated multitude or SMT or OFDM or OQAM and cosine modulated multitude or CMT. So, cosine modulated filters is one of the types of filter bank modulation. So, in cosine modulated filter bank modulation, a common low-pass prototype is translated to the required center frequencies by modulating it with a cosine function. So, what is a filter bank? So, we're gonna define what is filter bank. So, filter bank is an image in a signal processing, or a filter bank is defined as an arrangement of bandpass filters that split the input signal into a set of analysis signals, each one carrying a single frequency subband of the original signal. So, filter bank is a bandpass filters that split the input signal, and it is the one that is a single frequency subband of the original signal. So, in the other words, a class of system that generates scaling and a wavelength function are known as filter banks. So, every time we define a class of system that generates a scaling and wavelength function, this is a filter bank. So, the below figure shows the simple structure of filter bank. So, in the next slide, we're gonna see the figure of a structure of a filter bank, and it is a set of bandpass filters which filter the centered and in a different frequency. So, this figure is a bandpass filter bank. So, from X, the input signal goes to here, and the signal goes to the bandpass filter, the output of Y0, the bandpass filter, and the output of Y1 in the 20 Hz, and the bandpass filter, and goes to the output of Y sub 2, and the 150 Hz to the bandpass filter, and the output of Y sub n. So, a filter bank is used to perform various tasks like a bandwidth reduction, combination of the common operations of a spectral translation. Spectral composition is decomposition of signals and sample rate changes, etc. Since most filter banks include various sampling rates, they are also referred to as multi-rate system. So, filter banks play an important role in a modern signal and image processing applications such as audio and image coding. So how does it works? So filter bank modulation is a filter bank separates or splits the input signal into multiple components. So a filter bank is a splitter that splits the signal into an input signal into multiple components. So the process of separating the input signal into multiple components is known as analysis. So the process in filter bank that splits the components is called analysis. The output of the analysis is referred to as subband or original signal. So the output is called a subband of the original signal. Then now, the filter bank attenuates the components of a signal differently and reconstructed them into an improved version of the original signal. The reconstruction process is known as synthesis. So synthesis is a reconstruction process that reconstructed them into an improved version of an original signal. So for example, if we have an input audio signal of xn, then filter bank separate this input audio signal into a set of analysis signals x sub 1 and then x sub 2, then x sub 3, and etc. Each of this set of analysis signals corresponds to a different region in the spectrum of an input signal. So these are the set of analysis signal x sub n, x sub n, x sub 2, then x sub 3, that can be obtained by filter banks with a bandwidth of bandwidth 1 sub 1, bandwidth 2 sub 2, and bandwidth 3 sub 3, and the center frequencies of fc sub 1 and fc sub 2 and fc sub 3 respectively. So filter bank multi-carrier includes filter bank multi-carrier FBMC is a form of a multi-carrier modulation that has its origins without OFDM. It is a development of OFDM and aims to overcome some of the issues, although this comes at the cost of increase of signal processing. FBMC has a much better usage of available channel capacity and is able to offer higher data rates within the given radio spectrum bandwidth. It has a higher level spectrum efficiency. So filter bank multi-carrier is a development of OFDM, and filter bank multi-carrier is an increased signal processing. So filter bank multi-carrier basics. So filter bank multi-carrier aims to overcome some of the shortcomings that were encountered with OFDM, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, and one of the main shortcomings arises from the fact that OFDM requires that use what is termed a cyclic prefix. The cyclic prefix is as essential of a copy of the part of the transmitted symbol of OFDM that is appended at the beginning of the next. Then redundancy reduces throughout the transmission and also wastes power. A further disadvantage of the MNC is that the spectral location of a subcarrier is weak, and this results a spectral leakage of interference issues with an asynchronous signal. Filter bank multi-carrier is a development of OFDM. Using the banks of filters that are implemented typically used in digital signal processing techniques or FBMC. When carriers were modulated in an OFDM system, side blobs spread out in the other side. With filter bank system, the filters are used to remove this and cleaner carrier results. So systems using FBMC modulations are more complicated than OFDM. The exchange of FFT or IFFT modules by the filter banks. So the example of a filter bank TX, so from the input goes to the IFFT, then from IFFT goes to the digital filters, and from digital filters it spreads to the channel. Let's see advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. FBMC is able to provide a spectrum efficient and more selective system. The cyclic prefix of CP required for OFDM is not needed, thereby freeing up more space for real data. So FBMC also provides robust narrow band jammers. So the disadvantages are the use of memo with FBMC is very complicated. As a result of few systems has been investigated the use of these techniques together and the design wide bandwidth and high dynamic ranges from FBMC provides some significant RF development changes. FBMC also is more complicated than our FDM. It introduces an overheat in the symbols of the filter bank. So that's all guys. Thank you.